this last Monday in September. We're grateful to have you watching CNN10. I'm Carl Mazus, objectively explaining news from around the world. Today, that takes us across the Pacific to a special administrative region of China. We're starting in Hong Kong. The first ever bullet train from there to mainland China opened up on Sunday. The $10 billion rail link connects Hong Kong to the Chinese city of Guangzhou, where travelers can access more legs of the largest high-speed rail network on the planet and easily get to places hundreds of miles away like Shanghai and Beijing. More than 80,000 passengers are expected to use this new rail link every day. It's expected to cut a 2-hour trip time down to 47 minutes and increase opportunities and business benefits for the region around Hong Kong. But there's some controversy to this. For one thing, critics say Hong Kong already had rail links with China and that this project was too expensive as it went 30% over budget. For another, part of the new train station in Hong Kong is under Chinese control. It's governed by Chinese law. It's patrolled by Chinese mainland police. They'll have the authority to arrest people inside the station and transfer them to the mainland. And that's the first time that China's government would have direct control over part of Hong Kong since it was ceded to the British in 1841. There are more than 7 million people who live in Hong Kong, and for many of them, Chinese influence and government control are sensitive issues.
It's not easy being Hong Kong. It is simultaneously China and not China. It's a special administrative region, 3 words that distinguish it and Macau from the rest of the country. To understand why it has this status, let's rewind more than 175 years. Way back to 1841, when the British took control of Hong Kong from the Chinese during the First Opium War. Back then, it was just a handful of fishing villages. But in more than a century under British rule, Hong Kong transformed into an international financial powerhouse. The British introduced Western-style banking, legal and education systems to Hong Kong. Hong Kongers also enjoy freedom of expression and freedom of the press, liberties that don't exist in mainland China. As China was embroiled in international conflicts and civil war, Hong Kong thrived. But in 1984, when Britain negotiated to give control of the territory back to China, people feared life would dramatically change. Under the one country, two systems principle, Beijing promised that Hong Kong would operate just as it had under British rule for 50 years. July 1st, 1997, the momentous return of Hong Kong from Britain to China. And at the handover ceremony, the people of Hong Kong were observers, watching as their new flag, which was chosen for them, was raised on a lower pole than that of the bigger flag of the People's Republic of China.
Since around the time of the handover, there has been constant soul-searching among the people of Hong Kong about their cultural identity, their political future, and when this special administrative region would start to feel less special.
Critics say it's already started, pointing out China's refusal to grant Hong Kong free and fair elections for its top leader without Beijing vetting the candidates. And that sparked the umbrella movement protests that paralyzed the city's central business district for more than 3 months in 2014. Others will say life under Chinese rule has largely remained unchanged and that Hong Kong Inc. has prospered along with the rise of China. Hong Kong still has an independent judiciary and a capitalist economy with its own financial system and currency. But many are worried that Beijing is increasingly imposing itself on the city's affairs. And then there's the question of what happens after China's promise of one country, two systems expires in 2047. Will Hong Kong be allowed to mostly run its own affairs or be ruled just like any other Chinese city?
10-second trivia. Alaska's home to several of America's highest peaks, but where would you find the highest mountain in the lower 48 states? California, Colorado, Utah, or Wyoming? Mount Whitney, with a summit of almost 15,000 feet, is the highest mountain in the lower 48. California is also home to a new ban on plastic straws, but the law is limited. The state's governor, Jerry Brown, signed the legislation late last week. What it does is make it illegal for dine-in restaurants to automatically hand out plastic straws to customers. They can still ask for the straws and get them. Fast food restaurants and convenience stores can still automatically hand them out, and full-service restaurants can still give customers paper and metal straws without them asking. But if dine-in locations hand out the plastic kind, they could eventually be fined $25 per day, up to a maximum of $300 per year. Governor Brown says plastics in all forms are hurting the planet, and that the new law is a small step that might make customers think about an alternative. But according to the San Francisco Chronicle, a legislative analysis found the new law won't significantly reduce litter, and that it's also not likely to change consumer behavior. The straw law takes effect on New Year's Day. A California business factors into our next story. Bird is the name of one, but not the only, e-scooter company. These are electric scooters popping up in cities across the U.S. and abroad. The companies that rent them say they cut down on pollution if people ride on them instead of in cars. They're intended to be an inexpensive way for folks to get around and at a speed faster than walking. Many e-scooters go as fast as 15 miles per hour, which is the speed that some runners can sprint. But there are downsides to all this scooting. Some cities have banned e-scooter use on sidewalks because of possible collisions with pedestrians. That puts the scooters next to cars in the street. And some riders have been involved in accidents either because of their own mistakes or a scooter's malfunction.
The alarm is starting to sound on the e-scooter invasion, a two-wheeled collision at top speed. Another scene, paramedics tending to the injured downed by an e-scooter. Doctors and lawyers are seeing crashes every day. Some are pushing back, accusing e-scooter startups of putting profits over rider safety. And e-scooter riders can be hard to spot on the road. Last month in Cleveland, a driver struck and killed a 21-year-old woman. The driver was under the influence and charged with homicide. While no official stats exist, some ERs say they're seeing an influx of e-scooter-related injuries. Cedars-Sinai Hospital in California told us patients are regularly coming in now requiring urgent surgery. And because the devices are so new, insurance policies may not cover any resulting medical bills. In the past year, California-based Bird has launched shareable e-scooters rented via smartphone apps in more than 40 cities worldwide and is now valued at an eye-popping $2 billion.
The goal of Bird is to reduce car traffic and trips. People have been trying to find ways to get Americans out of cars for a long time, and we think Bird can have a big impact.
Bird says users should be 18 or older, follow local traffic laws, and should wear a helmet. Critics say riders routinely break those rules.
In a statement, Bird told CNN, "Safety is our top priority. For those involved in any incidents with Bird scooters, we strongly recommend reporting these to Bird so we can take necessary action on our platform."
For 10 out of 10, we're 37 days away from Halloween, but it's like this town in Greece is decorating early. It's not people who've covered the beach, the trees, and the street signs with spider webs, though. It's actual arachnids, relatively small ones that are less than an inch long. Thousands of them creep beneath the webs, feasting on the gnats that thrive in the area. Thankfully, the spiders are not dangerous to humans, though it's no cephalosaur accident that arachnophobics would quicken their carapace, running as though they had 8 legs or spinneretting their wheels to avoid simple eye contact that could catch them in a web of fear. I'm Carl Zeus, and we'll crawl back with something new for you tomorrow.